Imagine spending thousands of dollars, right? And maybe an entire months of your life designing the absolute perfect checkout flow for an app.
Oh, just obsessing over every single pixel.
Exactly. You pore over the typography, you literally obsessively adjust the spacing, and that Buy Now button is just this gorgeous, perfectly contrasting masterpiece.
Right, it looks incredible on your monitor.
Yeah, but then you launch the page, and nobody clicks it. I mean, the analytics show people are just completely abandoning the cart.
Which is the worst feeling in the world.
It really is. So you bring in a heat mapping tool, to see what's going wrong, and you realize the users aren't even looking at your perfect button.
Let me guess. They're staring at the massive hero photo next to it.
Yes. Specifically, they are locked in this subconscious staring contest with the stock model, the one who is looking directly into the camera lens.
Ah, yeah. You inadvertently created a psychological trap, and it just completely ruined your conversion rate.
It's wild how easily that happens.
Okay.
And it happens far more often than anyone in the industry really wants to admit, honestly.
Well, it's because we treat photography like it's just digital wallpaper. Just something to make the empty space look a little less boring.
Right, just a placeholder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But a photo is arguably the loudest, most aggressive element you can put on a screen.
Biologically speaking, right? We're hardwired for it.
We are. Humans process imagery, and particularly other human faces, fractions of a second before they even begin to parse text or layout structures.
Which is exactly why today's deep dive is dedicated entirely to this. We are looking at the mechanics, the pitfalls, and the profound psychology of using photos in digital product design.
It is such a crucial topic for anyone building an interface.
It really is. And for you listening, our mission today is to break down these core design concepts, especially if you are just starting your career. We are basing today's deep dive entirely on Chapter 21, which is just titled Photos, from a really fantastic book called Design User Interface.
It's a critical chapter, honestly, because formal design education often just glosses right over this stuff.
Right, you spend 4 years learning grid systems and color theory.
Yeah, and then when it comes to imagery, the implicit instruction is just, drop a nice picture in there.
Just make it look pretty.
Mm-hmm.
But as we're going to discover today, dropping a nice picture in there is basically walking into a minefield.
A huge minefield.
So before we get into the weeds of masking and eye tracking and all of that, I want to make sure you, the listener, have access to the material we are dissecting.
Definitely grab this one.
Yeah, the book is Design User Interface. You can find it at https://hype4academy.gumroad.com/new book. But actually, even better, you can buy the book right now by scanning the QR code of the book link provided in the description below.
Highly recommend checking it out while you listen.
For sure. And while you are doing that, I'm explicitly requesting that you make sure you follow us for more technical design breakdowns and career building content. We do this all the time, and you really don't want to miss it.
So if we are going to actually understand how to use photos today, we kind of have to look at the wreckage of the past.
Oh boy, the wreckage.
Yeah, the early 2000s were a dark, bizarre time for user interface design, primarily because of what was considered acceptable imagery back then.
I know exactly where you're going with this. The era of the hyper-staged stock photo.
Precisely, the impossibly ecstatic models.
Yes, if you were browsing the web 20 years ago, you just lived in this uncanny valley of corporate imagery.
It was an age defined by exaggerated, entirely artificial smiles, people standing in these unnaturally bright, sterile rooms.
Always pointing at blank whiteboards.
Mm-hmm.
They're shaking hands while staring directly into your soul.
Right, exactly. The text specifically calls out this legendary phenomenon from that era, the ubiquitous blonde girl stock photo.
Oh, the blonde girl, it was everywhere. You would be watching television, right? You'd see this perfectly lit, smiling woman in a shampoo commercial.
Right, very standard.
But then 10 minutes later, she is the face of an advertisement for the regional sausage industry.
The sausage industry, it's so funny.
And it doesn't stop there. You open your laptop, you go to check your bank account balance, and boom, there she is again, wearing a headset, welcoming you to your local bank's customer service portal.
The sausage industry to the financial sector pipeline.
It sounds absurd when you say it out loud, but I mean, that really was a massive problem for brand integrity, wasn't it?
It was a huge problem. When every single industry, regardless of the context or the product, is pulling from the exact same limited catalog of hypergeneric images, the imagery just loses all functional meaning.
It stops being a tool for actual communication.
Exactly. It just becomes visual static.
I like to draw a parallel here to canned laughter in old sitcoms. Like why was canned laughter even invented?
To make you feel like you were in a theater, right?
Yeah, initially it was to simulate that communal viewing experience. But eventually, the networks just started using it as a total crutch.
Oh, for sure. Covering up bad writing.
Exactly. You're watching a terribly written joke, flat delivery, and then this artificial roar of laughter plays. It creates this massive cognitive dissonance.
It's because your brain knows the joke wasn't funny.
Right. But the television is aggressively commanding you, like, this is hilarious. And because it's so clearly manufactured, it honestly feels kind of insulting to your intelligence.
That is a perfect analogy. Those early 2000s stock photos were literally the visual equivalent of canned laughter.
The interface is just screaming at you, we are a warm, bespoke, trustworthy financial institution. Look at this unnaturally happy group of diverse professionals.
But your subconscious immediately registers the fake. And that cognitive dissonance is exactly what erodes user trust.
Because users are incredibly perceptive, even if they aren't consciously, articulating it.
Right. They might not look at the screen and say, ah, yes, royalty-free image number 405, but their gut tells them something is off.
Their gut says, this company didn't actually care enough to show me something real.
Exactly. If your bank uses the exact same model as a discount meat distributor, the perceived value and security of that financial institution just immediately drops.
Thankfully, though, the landscape has completely shifted since then. We don't have to rely on those sterile catalogs anymore.
No, the tools have gotten so much better.
Yeah, platforms like Pexels and Unsplash have totally democratized high-quality, authentic photography. I mean, we have access to candid moments, natural lighting, real environments.
And they are usually entirely free, which is wild.
And the tooling itself has evolved to match this. You don't even have to leave your canvas anymore.
Right. Most modern design software has these photo libraries built directly in through plugins. You just search, you click, and this breathtaking cinematic shot drops right into your layout.
Which, ironically, introduces a completely new and arguably more dangerous problem.
It absolutely does.
Because just because you have a beautifully authentic photo, doesn't actually mean it belongs in your layout.
Context is everything.
I liken it to buying a wildly expensive, bespoke, neon green top hat. It might be a beautiful hat on its own, right? Yeah. But if you wear it with a tailored, conservative tuxedo, you look ridiculous.
That's a great way to put it. Dropping a highly saturated, neon-lit cyberpunk photo from Unsplash into a muted, pastel-branded healthcare app just destroys the visual harmony.
No matter how authentic the photo technically is.
Exactly. Visual harmony is the first casualty, but the second, and probably more important one, is functional usability.
Right, which brings us to the whole dilemma of background photos. They are so popular for setting a mood or establishing a narrative.
But if you handle them poorly, you completely destroy the readability of your interface.
You see this constantly. A designer falls in love with a bright, beautiful photo of a cloudy sky. They make it the background, and then they place thin, white typography right over the brightest cloud.
And the text just completely vanishes.
If the user cannot read the text, the interface has failed.
Yeah.
The aesthetics really don't matter at that point.
They really don't. But let's break down the mechanics of how to actually fix this, because the solution depends heavily on the type of photo we are dealing with.
Okay, so we have static photos and we have dynamic photos.
Let's start with static, because that offers the designer the most control. A static photo is completely predictable.
Like a hero image on a corporate landing page.
Exactly. Or a background on an onboarding screen. Every single user who visits that page is going to see that exact same photo, cropped the exact same way.
So, because it never changes, I can strategically place my UI elements. Let's say I have a photo of a surfing spot, right?
Okay, paint the picture for me.
So the bottom half of the image is bright, white, reflective sand. The middle is a dark, deep blue ocean wave. And the top is a blindingly bright, sunlit sky.
Got it.
If my brand uses white typography, I know I absolutely cannot place my text on the sand or the sky. It'll just wash out.
Right, so you place it permanently over the dark blue ocean band.
Because the photo is static, I can adjust the scale, modify the crop, and literally engineer the layout so that the text always lives in that high contrast safe zone.
Exactly. You have total architectural control there.
I see the logic. But what if I am designing a social feed? Or like a travel application where users are constantly uploading their own photos of hotels and beaches straight from their phones.
That is a whole different beast. You surrender all control in that scenario.
Right. One user uploads a picture from inside a dark, unlit cave, and the very next user uploads a picture of a ski slope during a blinding white blizzard.
Yeah, you can't predict that at all.
So if I have white UI text, like the user's name, or a timestamp sitting on top of this dynamic image feed, how can I possibly ensure readability? The background is constantly rolling the dice on contrast.
That is the dynamic photo dilemma, and it requires you to engineer a foolproof systemic solution. You cannot rely on cropping or placement anymore.
So what's the industry standard here?
The standard solution is the color overlay. You artificially alter the brightness of the unpredictable photo by blanketing the whole thing with a translucent layer.
Oh, like putting a heavy pair of sunglasses over the entire image so the bright spots get muted. And that allows the white text to finally pop.
That is a very accurate visualization. And the data point to remember here is actually quite aggressive.
How aggressive are we talking?
In most cases, applying a pure black color overlay at 50 to 80% opacity is what it takes to make text readable on nearly any photo.
80% black. That feels like a design crime.
It sounds harsh, I know.
I mean, if I have a user uploading a vibrant, gorgeous sunset over the Grand Canyon, and I drop an 80% opaque black square over it, I am basically turning off the lights.
No.
You are punishing the beautiful photo just to make a tiny white timestamp readable.
It is a heavy hand, and it absolutely mutes the impact of the photo. There is no denying that.
It just feels so destructive.
But you have to remember the hierarchy of needs in user interface design. Accessibility, the literal ability for the user to read the information they need, must always trump aesthetic vibrance.
Function over form, always.
Always. However, there is a very sophisticated technique from the book to make this heavy overlay feel a little less like a dirty, dark window and more like an intentional brand choice.
Okay, I am definitely listening because pure black at 80% feels awful to me.
So instead of using pure dead black, you create your overlay using a much darker shade of your brand's primary color, and you mix that with a dark gray.
Oh, interesting. Walk me through that. Let's say my app is a podcast player, and my primary brand color is a really vibrant electric purple.
Okay. If you use pure black over a photo in that app, the photo just looks dark and dead. It feels disconnected.
Right.
But if you take that electric purple and you darken it significantly down to an almost charcoal midnight purple and use that as your translucent overlay, something subtle but really powerful happens.
You are still darkening the photo enough to make the white text readable, but you are infusing the underlying image with your brand's color DNA.
Exactly. It ties the chaotic, user-generated background into the structured, highly controlled UI sitting on top of it.
So when the user's bright white UI buttons or those electric purple icons sit on top of that photo, they feel completely cohesive. They share an underlying color palette.
Right. It stops looking like an accident and starts looking like an atmospheric intentional filter. You just experiment with the brightness and saturation of that dark mix until you hit the absolute sweet spot between readability and brand consistency.
That is incredibly smart. It really elevates that brute force method into a nuanced design choice.
It makes a huge difference.
Still, though, blanketing the entire photo, even with a beautiful midnight purple, obscures the whole image.
It does.
If I am designing a vertical card for a travel app, right, and it's a stunning tall photo of Mount Fuji, and the only text I have is the title Mount Fuji sitting right at the very bottom edge, it seems criminal to darken the beautiful sky at the top just to protect the text at the bottom.
And you absolutely shouldn't. That is where you move away from full blanket overlays and you adopt more surgical techniques.
Surgical techniques, I like the sound of that.
The first one is the gradient overlay. This is specifically for when your text or content only occupies a small, predictable portion of the background photo, like just the top edge, the bottom edge, or maybe one of the sides.
So we treat it kind of like a theater stage.
Exactly like a theater stage.
The beautiful photo of Mount Fuji is the backdrop. We shine a bright spotlight on the top half of the stage so the user can see all the gorgeous snow details on the peak.
Beautiful.
But down at the bottom of the stage where the actors, or in this case our text, are standing, the lighting slowly and smoothly fades into deep shadow.
A perfect metaphor. To execute this technically, you just create a transparent gradient overlay.
How did that work in the software?
If your text is at the bottom, you start the gradient at 0 opacity, fully transparent at the top of the image. As it moves down, it smoothly transitions to 100% opacity right behind the text.
So the top of the photo remains completely untouched and vibrant, while the text sits safely in a dark, readable harbor at the bottom.
Right, and I assume you can guess the color rule here.
We don't just use a gradient from transparent to pure black. We use the brand color again.
Correct. You use your primary brand colors for the gradient, but you apply what we call a -30 brightness shift.
A -30 brightness shift.
Okay. You are taking your brand colors and darkening them significantly to create that shadow effect, ensuring readability while subtly reinforcing the brand identity.
Okay, I love the gradient. It feels very elegant, but let's be honest, gradients can sometimes be a bit too soft,
And they
right?
definitely have their limits.
What if the photo behind the text is incredibly busy? Like a photo of a crowded stadium with a million different colored shirts, and the gradient just isn't creating enough contrast to make the text legible.
When elegance fails, you deploy the hard overlay.
The hard overlay. Sounds intense.
You just abandon the soft, fading transition of the gradient entirely, and you simply place a highly opaque, solid rectangle directly underneath your text.
A solid box.
Yeah.
Just sitting right there on top of the photo.
Yep.
I have to push back here. That sounds incredibly clunky. I mean, it feels like you are slapping a bumper sticker over the photo. It interrupts the visual flow entirely.
Oh, it absolutely interrupts the visual flow. It is notoriously challenging to make a hard overlay look aesthetically pleasing.
Then why use it?
Because you have to accept the reality of the medium. A hard overlay is undefeated when it comes to absolute bulletproof accessibility.
Undefeated.
If your user base has visual impairments, or if perfect readability in glaring outdoor sunlight is the paramount concern for your app, the hard overlay is your best friend.
Because it's a solid shape, so you can adjust the transparency to guarantee perfect contrast against literally any photo in existence.
Exactly. So it is the ultimate safety net. It might not win an award for sheer beauty, but it will never, ever fail a usability test.
Are there rules for making it look at least somewhat intentional, though, so it doesn't just look like a glitch or a mistake?
There are two main approaches. A hard overlay can be floating, meaning the box is detached from the edges of the photo, kind of hovering securely around the text in the middle.
Okay, like a little pill shape, maybe.
Sure. Or, more commonly, it can be fixed to an edge. But if you fix it to an edge, the crucial rule of thumb is that the overlay should span the entire width of the photo.
Wait, why full width? If my text only takes up the left half of the bottom edge,
Right.
why not just draw a box behind the text and let the right half of the photo breathe?
Because doing that creates a hard, unnecessary vertical line that cuts directly into the image.
Oh, I see.
Your eye gets drawn to the edge of the box rather than the text or the photo itself. It looks like a poorly cropped mistake.
Ah, so by stretching that hard overlay all the way across the width of the screen, you create a clean, defined, intentional zone.
Exactly. You are telling the user this is the photo zone, and this entire strip below it is the information zone. It establishes structure.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. That turns a Band-Aid into an architectural element.
Exactly right.
What about smaller UI elements, though, like icons? If I just want to put a little white heart icon or a share arrow on top of a dynamic photo, do I really need a full-width banner just for a tiny heart?
No, you don't need a banner, but the rule for icons is incredibly strict. You should never, ever drop a naked icon directly onto a dynamic photo.
A naked icon.
Meaning just the icon itself with no background. You start by adding the icon as a button.
Meaning I enclose the icon within a solid shape. So I don't just put the white heart on the photo, I put the white heart inside a dark gray circle, and then I put that dark gray circle on the photo.
Yes. That guarantees the icon will remain legible and interactive, whether the photo loading behind it is a dark night sky or a glaring white blizzard.
Okay, so we have spent a lot of time talking about how to survive bad contrast. We have our 50 to 80% brand-tinted overlays, our gradient theater shadows, our hard boxes, and our icon buttons.
A good toolkit.
It is, but this all feels a bit reactionary. We are treating the symptoms. How do we prevent the disease?
What do you mean?
Like, how do we stop picking photos that create these massive contrasts and contextual problems in the first place?
Okay. That is the pivotal transition from dealing with the mechanics of photos to dealing with the actual strategy of photos.
Right.
And the overarching strategy is quite definitive. Do it yourself. DIY photography is the golden rule.
DIY. Like, you expect a UI designer to take out their smartphone and start snapping pictures for a professional enterprise-level application?
Yes, absolutely. If you want your digital product to feel unique, bespoke, and professional, you have to capture your own imagery.
Really? But what about all those massive, high-quality stock sites?
The reliance on stock catalogs, even the really high-quality, authentic ones like Unsplash, carries a massive, often invisible risk.
The risk of repetition.
Precisely. Massive free stock catalogs are incredibly popular, which means the images on them are downloaded millions of times.
Yeah, that makes sense.
When you use those platforms, you are almost guaranteeing that your project is going to look exactly like hundreds of other projects on the internet.
There is a really fantastic, somewhat painful example of this in the industry. The book actually mentions it. If you go to a leading free stock site right now and type in the search term UX, or user experience.
Oh, I know exactly what you're going to say. You will get the exact same handful of shots that have been dominating the design industry for a decade.
Yep. There is one specific photo by Alvaro Reyes on Unsplash. It's a top-down shot of a person's hand placing black string and push pins onto a whiteboard that is just covered in wireframes and mobile UI printouts.
It's infamous.
I know that photo intimately. I could literally draw it from memory. I have seen it on 50 different Medium articles about how to break into UX. I have seen it on the homepages of at least 10 different boutique design agencies.
Yeah.
And it is probably the background of 3 different LinkedIn-sponsored ads right now as we speak.
Now, put yourself in the shoes of a potential client for a second.
Right.
You are looking to hire a high-end boutique design agency to build a custom $100,000 software platform.
Okay, high stakes.
You go to their About Us page to see their process, and the hero image is that exact same Alvaro Reyes photo. The exact same photo you saw yesterday on a cheap $15 online bootcamp advertisement.
Oh man. The illusion of being a premium bespoke agency just evaporates instantly. It basically screams, "We take the easy way out." It's like going to a 5-star bakery that charges $20 a pastry, and you literally see them taking store-bought, mass-produced cookies out of a plastic clamshell in the back. The trust is completely shattered.
That lack of originality damages credibility faster than almost anything else. That is why capturing your own photos, even if they are slightly less cinematic, adds an irreplaceable layer of authenticity.
But we have to be realistic here.
Fair enough.
Sometimes you simply do not have the budget, the time frame, or the logistical capability to shoot custom photography for every single screen of a project.
That's true.
I mean, if I am building a dashboard for a global logistics shipping company, I can't just fly to a cargo port in Singapore just to get a background photo.
Exactly. If you absolutely must use stock photography, there is a rigid, unbreakable rule you must follow to maintain your interface's integrity.
What's the rule?
The photo must fit the context of the product. Context must always override aesthetics.
So it can't just be a pretty picture.
Never. The photo has to add tangible communicative value and make logical sense within the framework of your design.
Right.
Going back to your logistics dashboard, a designer might go to a stock site, search for modern workspace, and find a stunning, moody, beautifully lit photo of a barista pouring intricate latte art in a coffee shop.
Oh, designers love those
Yeah,
photos.
they do. It has a great color palette, it feels modern, it feels slick, but it has absolutely nothing to do with global shipping logistics.
So the user logs in to check on their shipping containers, and they're greeted by a latte.
The cognitive dissonance is staggering. The user subconsciously stops and asks, am I in the right place? Is this a coffee app?
You have introduced confusion purely for the sake of aesthetics.
Exactly. Every photo must serve a contextual purpose. If it doesn't explicitly help the user understand the product or their environment, it simply doesn't belong in the UI.
Okay, so if the golden rule is DIY for background photos, to maintain uniqueness and contextual sense, that DIY principle must be infinitely more crucial when we start dealing with the most sensitive, attention-grabbing element in all of user interface design.
Faces.
Yes. Let's talk about faces. Because if there is one thing the human brain is optimized to aggressively scan for and analyze, it is another human face.
We are biologically programmed for it. From an evolutionary standpoint, recognizing a face, reading its expression, and determining if it is a friend or a threat was essential to survival.
It's hardwired.
Because of that deep wiring, faces draw our visual attention faster and hold it longer than literally any typography, any color, or any geometric shape.
Which means how we use them in prototypes and final products is a huge responsibility. And there's a very strong directive from the book when it comes to building user lists, profiles, and dummy data during the design phase.
Yes. The core rule is always use your own photo as the primary profile picture and mandate yourself to use photos of your real friends and real family for the other dummy users in the list.
Okay, I'm going to push back on this pretty hard.
I thought you might.
I use a very popular design tool. That's called Figma. Inside Figma, I have a plugin. I draw 5 empty circles on my screen, I select them all, I run the plugin, and in less than 2 seconds, it reaches into a database and generates 5 perfectly lit, highly diverse, completely royalty-free AI-generated faces and drops them perfectly into my circles.
You have the avatar's plugin.
Right. If I am on a tight deadline and I need to show a client a mock-up of a team chat application by 3 p.m., isn't that one-click plugin infinitely better, more efficient, and more professional than awkwardly texting my brother and asking if I can use his blurry vacation selfie for my prototype?
From a purely mechanical time and motion standpoint, yes, the plugin is vastly faster.
Right.
If you are purely optimizing for speed, use the plugin. But there is a massive psychological pivot here that separates adequate designers from exceptional ones.
Okay, color me intrigued.
If you want to build something that actually resonates, something that has true empathy baked into its core, you have to do the work to make the prototype personal to you.
But why? The client doesn't know my brother. To the client, my brother's face and the AI's face are both just abstract representations of a user. Why does it matter where the pixels actually came from?
Because it doesn't matter to the client. It matters entirely to you, the designer.
To me?
Yes. The psychological impact of using real faces, specifically faces of people you love and care about, is profound.
How so?
When you populate a fake chat application with the faces of your actual best friends and your family, the UI stops being a collection of abstract shapes and dummy data. It becomes a simulated reality.
Oh, wow. You raise your own emotional stakes.
You artificially engineer your own empathy. Let's say you drop your father's photo into that circular avatar. Suddenly, you aren't just looking at user A, you're looking at your dad. And you look at the tiny 10-point light gray font you used for the chat timestamp right next to his face, and your brain instantly says, "My dad wears thick reading glasses. He would never be able to read that text."
Wow. That is an incredible mental shift. The AI face doesn't have bad eyesight. The AI face doesn't get confused by complex navigation. But my dad does.
Precisely. You start noticing the micro interactions, the contrast ratios, the tap target sizes, because you are projecting real human beings, people you actually want to protect and assist into the digital space you are architecting.
That makes so much sense.
Random, flawlessly lit faces from a plugin lack that personal investment. They're just visual placeholders that let you stay totally detached. But when it's your friend's face, you are designing a home for them.
It fundamentally shifts your attention to detail and forces you to design for actual human frailty rather than just ideal scenarios.
Exactly.
That completely flips my perspective on dummy data. It's not about making it look real for the presentation. It's about tricking your own brain into caring more during the process.
That's exactly it.
Okay, so I've gone through the effort. I've texted my friends. I have their real, messy, authentic photos. But my friends take photos on their phones, which means the photos are rectangular.
Largely, yes.
Modern user interfaces, especially when dealing with avatars and profiles, are obsessed with circles. How do we take a rectangular friend and force them into a slick UI circle? This involves the fundamental skill of masking, right?
Yes, masking is a core technical operation you will use daily in UI design. The concept is incredibly straightforward. Masking is just the process of putting one object, the photo, within the strict mathematical confines of a second object, which we call the masking shape.
Because photos are inherently rectangular matrices of pixels.
Exactly. So masking is literally the only mechanism we have to get a photo to display inside a perfect circle in a digital interface.
I always explain it like baking cookies.
Oh, I like this. Go on.
The photo of your friend is the sheet of rolled out dough. The masking shape, let's say a perfect circle, is the metal cookie cutter. You press the circle cutter down onto the photo dough. Everything outside the circle is hidden away, ignored by the computer, and you are left with a perfectly circular face.
That is a flawless mechanical analogy, and we rely heavily on a very standardized set of cookie cutters in UI design.
What are the main ones?
The most common masking shapes are rectangles and squares, both with sharp 90-degree corners for more brutalist or corporate designs, and softer rounded corners for more approachable interfaces.
Right.
And of course, ovals and perfect circles, which have basically become the absolute standard for representing human avatars.
But design is cyclical. It goes through trends. Circles and rounded squares have dominated mobile design for the better part of a decade. Are we seeing any evolution in the types of masks being used?
We are, actually, but it is heavily context dependent. The biggest trend right now is the use of organic, uneven blobs as masking shapes. Yeah, instead of a rigid, predictable geometric form, You have these fluid, amoeba-like wavy shapes that feel almost hand-drawn. Designers are using these blobs to mask photos, solid colors, and even complex shifting gradients.
Oh, I know exactly what you were talking about. You see these constantly on the landing pages for super modern, heavily funded tech startups. They look incredibly playful, dynamic, and very anti-corporate.
They are excellent for injecting personality and breaking up the monotony of the grid.
But
However, there is a massive caveat to this trend. While these organic blobs thrive on landing pages and marketing websites, they are almost entirely absent in actual mobile application interfaces.
why the harsh divide? If I want my banking app to feel friendly and playful, why shouldn't I put my user's profile picture inside a wavy amoeba blob?
Because the environment of a mobile app is vastly different from a marketing webpage. A mobile app is a highly constrained, information-dense environment operating on a tiny, tiny screen.
Right. Space is at a premium.
Grids, lists, alignment, and absolute predictability are essential for a user who is trying to accomplish a task quickly. A random, unpredictable blob shape takes up irregular vertical and horizontal space. It makes aligning text next to it a total nightmare.
I could see that. If you put 20 blobs in a scrolling list, the irregularity creates massive visual clutter and cognitive load. The user just feels chaotic.
Exactly. So the rigid circles and squares aren't just boring, they are absolutely necessary for creating a calm, navigable structure in a tight space.
So no blobs in the app at all.
The only real exception for using blobs within a mobile app is perhaps during the onboarding process, those first 3 or 4 welcome screens where the user isn't actually trying to complete a task yet and you are simply trying to express the brand's tone.
Oh, okay.
But once they hit the actual dashboard, the blobs must disappear and the strict geometry must return.
Keep the wild shapes for the brochure, use the strict math for the actual tool. Makes sense. Okay, so we have our friends' faces securely masked inside perfect geometric circles in our app's user list. But we have a new problem.
What's the new problem?
My friend Bob took his selfie in a dark, neon-lit dive bar. My friend Sarah took her selfie standing outside in the blazing, washed-out afternoon sun. When you put those two circles next to each other in a list, the interface looks like a chaotic mess. The colors clash violently, which brings us to basic color correction.
Right. Visual consistency is the absolute hallmark of professional design. When things share a visual language, the user perceives the system as stable and trustworthy.
So what's the rule here?
The core rule regarding color correction is this. If you are producing your own content, for instance, you are designing the category header images for an e-commerce store or the cover photos for a company blog, you must apply a consistent filter or color treatment across all of those images.
It's like managing a high-end Instagram account. You don't just post raw photos, you use the exact same preset, the same contrast adjustments, the same temperature tweaks on every single photo, so that when you look at the grid as a whole, it looks like one cohesive body of work.
Precisely. You are uniting disparate images under one recognizable brand umbrella. It signals to the user that someone is actually paying attention to the detail.
Okay, that makes sense for the brand photos.
However, there's a massive, incredibly important boundary here, a line that designers cross all the time to their own detriment. You must never modify, filter, or color correct the content that your users upload themselves.
Wait, I need to understand this. If my app has a beautiful, moody, desaturated aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
And a user uploads a profile picture that is aggressively bright, heavily saturated, and just completely ruins the visual harmony of my screen.
Yeah.
I can't just apply a subtle desaturation filter to it behind the scenes to make it fit my vibe.
You absolutely cannot. You apply your consistent filters and modifications only to the static images that you, the designer, are injecting into the product.
But why? If my job is to make the app look perfect, shouldn't I auto-enhance everyone's profile picture so the interface remains beautiful?
Because doing so is a fundamental violation of user trust and autonomy. You have to remember what a photo represents to a user. Okay.
If a user uploads a photo of their child's birthday party or a selfie from a moment they felt genuinely confident, they are trusting your platform with their memory and their self-representation.
Right.
If your system automatically intercepts that photo, slaps a heavy sepia filter on it, crushes the blacks, and bumps the contrast by 50% just to fit your moody aesthetic, the user immediately feels alienated.
Oh, I see. They feel like you altered their reality.
Exactly. They think, that isn't what my kid looked like. That isn't my memory. You cannot tamper with user-generated content for the sake of your UI vanity.
That's a really strong point. Your job as a designer is not to force their content to match your interface. Your job is to design a resilient interface, using the overlays, the gradients, and the structural techniques we discussed earlier that can gracefully accommodate and display their raw, authentic photos without breaking.
Respect the user's content above your own aesthetic desires. That is a brilliant, ethical, and functional line to draw. Okay, we are rounding the corner into our final topic, and honestly, this is the concept that blew my mind the most when I was prepping for this.
It's a good one.
It genuinely feels like a magic trick. We have talked about photos as mechanical tools for contrast. We've talked about them as tools for brand consistency and as psychological tools for designer empathy. But now we are talking about photos as tools for subconscious behavioral control. We are talking about the psychology of photos and eye tracking.
It sounds slightly dramatic, almost manipulative, but the psychological power of photo wields in a digital space is just immense.
It really is.
The dual nature of photography is that it adds massive emotional value, bringing a sterile layout to life. But if wielded improperly, it can heavily, dangerously distract users from their goals.
And we aren't just talking about design theory here. We are talking about actual biological scientific data, eye tracking studies. This is where it gets incredibly fascinating.
It truly is. For those who might not know, eye tracking technology uses specialized cameras to see exactly where a user's pupil is focusing on a screen, tracking their gaze millisecond by millisecond as they navigate a web page.
Right, so we can literally see what they're looking at.
Exactly. Researchers map these movements to see what elements draw attention and what elements are ignored. And the findings regarding how humans react to other human faces in photos are staggering and incredibly consistent.
Let's break down the two main scenarios. Scenario 1, the direct stare.
The studies show that if a person in a background photo is looking directly at the camera lens, which translates to them looking directly at the user viewing the screen, the user's visual attention will be magnetically, almost violently drawn to that face.
Just locked in.
Yes. They will focus almost entirely on the eyes of the model.
It goes back to what we said earlier about evolutionary biology. It triggers a primal instinct. If you are walking into a room and someone is making direct eye contact with you, you cannot ignore it. You look back.
You have to.
Your brain demands that you evaluate them. Are they a threat? Are they friendly? Do they want to speak to me?
Yeah.
Your cognitive load spikes, and your brain drops everything else, including whatever task you came to the website to do, just to analyze the face making eye contact?
Exactly. The direct stare overrides the cognitive task. It acts as a massive visual stop sign.
So that's scenario 1.
Now, consider the alternative, scenario 2, the directed gaze. The eye tracking studies show that if the person in the photo is looking off to the side, away from the camera, the user's eyes will briefly register the face, but then they will naturally and unconsciously follow the subject's line of sight.
Wow.
The user will focus on what the person in the photo is looking at.
This is wild. It's like a social reflex. If you are walking down a busy city street and you see 3 people standing on the sidewalk, craning their necks, staring up at the roof of a skyscraper, you do not stop and stare at the 3 people.
No, you look up.
You immediately look up at the roof of the skyscraper to see what they are looking at. We are socially and biologically conditioned to follow gazes to gather environmental context. So how do we weaponize this, or rather, practically apply this superpower to UI design?
The application is incredibly direct. If you are designing marketing materials, landing pages, or onboarding screens where you have a highly specific conversion goal like getting a user to read your primary value proposition or click a sign up button, you must carefully, obsessively curate the gaze of the models in your photography.
So the absolute rule number 1, never use photos of people looking directly at the camera on a landing page where you want them to click a button.
Unless the only thing you want them to do is look at that model's face, never use the direct stare. If you have a massive start free trial button on the left side of the screen, and on the right side you place a hero photo of a smiling CEO staring intensely at the user. The user will look at the CEO, they will engage in that subconscious staring contest, they will completely ignore the button in their peripheral vision, and eventually they will just scroll down or bounce off the page.
The direct eye contact acts as a visual trap, stopping the flow of attention dead in its tracks.
Exactly.
I see this mistake constantly. Massive tech companies spend a fortune on ad spend to drive traffic to a landing page. And when you get there, There's a giant high-definition photo of a model staring right into your soul, and you completely miss the little subscribe form right next to their shoulder.
It is a ubiquitous and incredibly expensive error. The actionable takeaway here is profound. Use pictures where people look to the side.
We don't just want them looking anywhere, right?
Right. Do not just have them looking off into random space. Use their gaze as an invisible biological arrow. Place your most important UI elements, your primary calls to action, your key headlines, your pricing tiers, exactly where their gaze lands.
Oh, that is so smart. If the model in the photo is positioned on the left side of the screen and they're looking down and to the right, you position your Buy Now button down and to the right, exactly where their invisible laser beams are hitting.
Yes. The user's eye lands on the face, follows the gaze, and boom, they land directly on your conversion button. It is literal visual psychology, and it is brilliant.
You are guiding the user through the layout, using deep-seated human psychology rather than just relying on contrasting colors or massive font sizes.
Exactly. It ensures that the human elements in your design are working synergistically with your functional elements, rather than fighting against them for the user's limited attention bandwidth.
Amazing. Well, that brings us to the end of our exploration today, and what a massive journey it has been. We have covered an incredible amount of granular, actionable ground.
We really have. We moved from the historical context of imagery all the way to highly technical execution and psychological theory.
Let's do a seamless recap of the tools we've acquired. We started by officially burying the early 2000s, perfectly posed, fake-smiling blonde stock photos, acknowledging that the cognitive dissonance they create ruins trust, and that authenticity is a required new baseline.
We then tackled the functional nightmare of dynamic background photos, learning how to master 50 to 80% opacity color overlays, and crucially, we learned to mix in our primary brand colors, like that midnight purple, to ensure absolute text readability without making the interface feel dead and corporate.
We got surgical with gradient overlays, using them as theater spotlights to protect text at the edges, and we embraced the brute force necessity of hard box overlays for guaranteed bulletproof accessibility when elegance fails.
We established the golden rule that context is king, and explored why capturing DIY photography prevents your bespoke product from looking like every other generic wireframe template on the internet, preserving your brand's unique equity.
We explored the deep psychological pivot of using your own face and faces of your real family when prototyping, utilizing that emotional investment to artificially boost your empathy and design for real human frailties.
We learned how to wield cookie-cutter masks, maintaining strict geometric boundaries like circles and squares for information-dense mobile lists, while saving wild organic blobs for expressive landing pages. And we established the unbreakable ethical law of never, ever altering a user's uploaded photo with your own color filters.
And finally, we uncovered the biological magic trick of eye-tracking psychology. Never have your models make eye contact if you want the user to look at anything else, and always utilize their gaze as an invisible arrow pointing directly at your most crucial UI elements. It is a masterclass in treating photos not as decoration, but as vital, load-bearing, deeply psychological components of an interface.
It truly transforms how you look at a digital canvas.
And I want to reiterate, every single drop of this knowledge came directly from Chapter 21, Photos in the book, Design User Interface. I cannot stress enough how valuable this resource is for anyone trying to build digital products that actually work.
It is a manual that bridges the gap between aesthetic theory and functional reality.
Exactly. So one last time, the link is https://hyperacademy.gumroad.com/Luity book. You don't even have to type that out. Just pull out your phone and scan the QR code of the book link provided in the description below right now to buy it. And please hit that follow button so you don't miss our future deep dives into technical design breakdowns and career-building content. We absolutely love unpacking these complex systems for you.
It has been an absolute pleasure, and to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you go back to your digital canvases, your wireframes, and your layouts today. We spend so much time obsessing over the perfect hex code for a primary button. We spend hours adjusting the layout grid and the typography scale of a heading to ensure perfect balance.
We really do.
But consider this. If the eyes of the person in your background photo are pointing the wrong way, creating a biological trap that completely locks the user's visual attention, your users might never actually see that mathematically perfect button or that beautifully scaled heading at all. The interface fails before they even register the text. So ask yourself, look closely at your current projects today. Are the human elements in your design working for your layout, or are they secretly, biologically fighting against it?